this thing called the autonomic nervous system and polyvagal theory. So the autonomic nervous system, and you may remember this from high school, your sympathetic and your parasympathetic, and supposedly they're in equilibrium. So parasympathetic is your rest and digest, sympathetic is your fight or flight, and that all of us at some point need fight or flight, either to get away from a threat or if we're, presenting on a TV show and we want to be performing at our best, or if we're running a race, or if we're in sports, people use that sympathetic activation for positive things, and athletes are much more likely to be hanging around in that sympathetic activation because they're performing at that high level. And what we actually know from a researcher named Professor Stephen Porges, who worked at the University of Indiana for a very long time, he's now down in Florida, he came up with this thing called Polyvagal Theory, and he added a third level to not just parasympathetic and sympathetic, but what we sometimes refer to as the freeze response, or in its fancy, I think probably Latin word, is dorsal vagal. And the vagus nerve is the nerve in the autonomic nervous system that is responsible for all these processes. Hence polyvagal, because we've now got 3 levels, not just 2. And what he has shown in research with animals, and also now doing a lot of work with humans, is that if we spend too much time in fight or flight, it's not sustainable for the body.
High stress, high cortisol, inflammation, all of these things.
Exactly.
It's like an engine to your car constantly running.
Yeah,
and
you
eventually
do
it
a lot of
burns
damage.
out.
Yeah, and so the body is naturally trying to prevent that, and at a certain point, it will just sort of pull the ripcord, and that freeze
Was that
shut
you?
down. Yeah.
Were you that person? Were you
Definitely.
always on?
Definitely. And the fascinating thing about the autonomic nervous system and polyvagal theory, and I've been a psychologist for 20 years and I didn't know any of this stuff. So in a way, that's been a silver lining that I've gotten to learn about all of this. That the cues for safety are all sort of subconscious. Cognitively, I know in certain situations that I'm safe, and my brain can be saying to my body, you're fine, we're sitting here, it's just you and I.
You look great.
There's no threats in this room.
Right, yeah.
And yet things could be happening that could make my nervous system think, wait a second, there might be something we should be worrying about here. And so I need to be constantly, and the clients that I work with long COVID, that's part of the work that we're doing, is reversing those little cues with other little things that we can do. So, for example, right now, I have a 5-pound weighted blanket on my lap that is just making my body feel a little bit more safe. And I also have a little cushion behind my back that is also making my body feel a little bit more safe. When I'm sitting at my desk,
and when you say safe from disease, illness, or safe from?
And I think it's all wrapped up together, that when the autonomic nervous system says we need to do fight or flight, that can be because of threat from illness, because of threat from violence, because
Made you more hypervigilant.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. What are some things that can be done to help people who are going through long-haul COVID? Yeah,
I mean, the thing that was a real turning point for me and how I really got into this polyvagal theory stuff was an intervention called the Safe and Sound Protocol. And that was also created by Professor Stephen Porges. It is auditory intervention, music, 5 hours in total of special music that has been frequency manipulated. And what they have done is they've taken out high frequency and low frequency, and you're left with the middle frequency, which essentially is the equivalent of human speech. And I don't know if you took psychology in
like
undergrad.
The sound of a cello is similar.
Oh,
yeah,
yes. Yeah. So what it's getting at is those Psych 101 experiments with babies and attachment, where you have the mother and she's talking in that lovely sing-song voice, and the baby is all calm and relaxed and attached to the mother. And then you tell the mother to stop talking and make her face also just completely still. And you watch the baby slowly melt down over a period of minutes as its nervous system kicks into fight or flight. And then you have the mother go back to talking in the sing-song voice, and you watch the baby just settle and calm itself. And this music, which follows a special copyrighted algorithm, and you can, fascinatingly, you can listen to it. They have popular music tracks, but they also have classical music tracks following the same algorithm of the same frequency manipulation.
It sounds like it's great even if you don't have
yeah.
COVID.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just good for
I would recommend
balance.
Yeah. What it does.
So you use this with your...
I came across it completely unrelated to my work as a psychologist. My primary
care... music for COVID, or what are they?
It's an intervention that originally was used with kids with autism. And so a lot of occupational therapy practices offer it. And then other kind of complementary holistic type practitioners. My primary care physician, who does work with long COVID and has been wonderful, recommended it to me September 2021. And when I looked into the science behind it, it was the first thing that, oh my goodness, this absolutely makes sense. This is exactly what I need. And when I called the company to find out about it and they quoted me the price, in my mind, I would already have paid 10 times that happily, because I knew this is it. This is what my body needs.
I'm assuming there's probably no heavy metal guitars in that.
No, no, there isn't.
It's much more of a...
Yeah, it's mellow.
Yeah.
But you listen to it very, very, very slowly.
Yeah.
So although it's 5 hours, it took me about 3 months.
It sort of builds...
Yeah. And what it's doing is it's working on the muscles of the middle ear. And it's the analogy that the muscles of the middle ear connect into the top of that vagus nerve where it meets the brainstem, right in the back of the brain. And what you're looking to do is increase flexibility and tone in that vagus nerve to help you move more easily between fight or flight, rest and digest, and freeze. Rather than getting stuck in one or bouncing between the two at the bottom, you want to be able to move much more volitionally, because we need all three states.
Certain sounds can throw you into that fight or flight stage.
Yeah.
Certain sounds that you hear that are jarring or piercing or...
Absolutely.
Wow, that's really fascinating.
Yeah, and the analogy they use, Jim, is like an elastic band. If you've got a brand new elastic band and it's very tight, if you pull it very quickly, it will just snap and you won't have an elastic band anymore.
Right.
But if you just very gently stretch it and then let it go back and then stretch it and let it go back, over time, you can get a huge elastic band.
Right.
And it still does what it's supposed to do. It still has its structural integrity. One of the big components of the cues for safety that our nervous system needs is social connection. So again, going back to those Psych 101, right? You've got that lovely smiling mother figure, which is giving you the attachment and making the body feel safe. And having that, what we with polyvagal theory refer to as someone who's anchored in the ventral state, that lovely smiling, warm container of social interaction makes a huge, huge difference.